we are, of course, blessed to be on a beautiful day. It's great to see. You kind of people forget that there's a proper working farm just right here in Greystone.
Well,
It seems like something that it's out there somewhere in the hills. But the fact that you're right here in Redford, just across from the Grove, and you've got a full on. Since 1669 is the farm kind of on the records, I think, of the Massey.
Yeah.
That's
well,
the
fact of the matter is, the records in Delgany Parish Church go back to 1669.
So it could be before that.
So we might well now. The other thing I should say is that the adjoining farm, Coolagad,
right,
it's also mentioned in those records as being in the hands of the Fox family in 1669.
Right.
Now that farm would have comprised what's now Lidl and the Toyota garage, Johnson and Staunton, and
stretched right up to the Kindlestown Wood there, the viewing
it
rock,
would have included that. In fact, it went right up to the far road where you turn down for the Glen of the Downs Golf Club. So in other words, it went from one road to the other.
Right.
Originally. But that was divided up as the years went on.
Well, we should just say that the reason I called up now, I just noticed that you got the Jimmy Barker Perpetual Trophy, this is for the late great Jimmy Barker, part of the Hillside gang who would have been looking after that Bellevue Road beautifully for many years now. But it was in recognition of the fact that you've been doing pretty much the same up here in Redford. Well, you've been doing a beautiful job. I've often seen you out on the main road there, kind of keeping the place tidy and keeping that kind of green area kind of under control, we'll say. Were you kind of taken by surprise when Marie and the Tidy Towns gang?
Well, I was, because I wasn't even aware of the fact that there was this trophy.
Same here, actually.
And I was taken surprise because I didn't know a word about it till, and I didn't think I was worthy of it anyway to begin with. But it certainly came as a big surprise. But for the little bit I do, I don't think it warrants it, but however,
it was when the road was about 12 years ago that the road was obviously it was changed around. They extended the road and they gave it new kind of feeder road and all that kind of stuff. But I think it was then that was the sort of turning point that you realised, that needs a little bit of a tidy up.
Yeah, basically money had run out from the road works,
right.
And it lay there for quite a while, and it was becoming rather unsightly. So at that stage I decided maybe somebody should do something. So I took it on.
Around and it was just you there.
I took it on myself. But anyway, basically it's just in grass, and I just try to keep the grass. Yeah. And that's basically
your children, Caroline and Edward, they help as well, and I'm sure.
Yeah, well, Caroline and Edward would have been involved with.
Is that Edward there?
Yeah,
now,
that's Edward there.
They
would have been involved. By way of just being interested, then Ruth would be involved too, just by way of an interest.
Because I know the Tidy Town sort of mentioned them too, just saying the fact that they've been great giving advice and sort of helping, just being kind of part of that. It's a way of thinking about where you live. It's just knowing that, well, this is my own kind of area, and I'd like it to be, even for my own sake, even on a level of when people visit, I don't want to end up with a dirty yard out the front of my house. You kind of like the idea that it's tidy and
the fact of the matter is too, with all the development that's going on around Greystones, and particularly on the north side of Greystones, basically this area now might be referred to as the gateway to Greystones. So perhaps it just
first
it's good to create a good impression anyway.
Well, you certainly do that. Now we should mention we saw Edward there. You would be the 10th descendant of the Massey family that we have on record. I think your son Edward is the 11th. Does that it sounds very grand? Does it feel like you've got a reputation to live up to? You've got a name to live up to?
Yeah, the records, as I say, are in Delgany Parish Church, and there was an Edward Massey farming here in 1669.
Wow!
And the strange thing was that that name Edward seems to have continued down through the generations.
Right.
And I gather this was sort of the way it was back in those years, that there was a name that more or less
followed through
on each family.
Right.
And
were you aware of that when with your own son Edward? Obviously, you would have sort of been a nod to your ancestors
yeah. Well, as I say, the family were farming here, right where we are now. But then they might at one stage have owned more land around here. But of course, like many families, the land might have been divided up as the years went on.
Yeah.
And my father managed to buy, my father George managed to buy back some of that way back in 1957.
Nice.
But now the way things are gone now, land around the Greystones areas beyond agriculture value.
Sure. Oh yeah. Well, it might as well be gold buried in the land around here. The value of it.
Yeah.
Once it's got the capability of holding a house, it's worth endless amounts of money.
That's it.
Now that sense of community that obviously the tidy towns are very keen to encourage. I mean, I would think that's just a part of a farming tradition. Like you basically got to look after your land. It's not like you sort of can ignore the fact that something needs to be mended. It needs to be mended because you're using it every day. It's part of what your living is and your livelihood.
Well, this is it. Well, my father used to cut that stretch of hedge from the cottages at Seaview, right up to the house which is called Wingates, and he used to do that stretch with the hand shears.
Wow!
And it's quite a task to be taken on each year. And as I say, maybe we have to try to live up to that. Now we're not out with the hand clippers anymore, but we still try to.
Would you feel generally there's always issues about the environment, just how we treat the land and how we treat, we're only here for a short while, and the hope is that we do some good on it and we don't leave any mess behind. I mean, is that something that is just always been part of the farming life, or are you become more aware of the need to really watch out for what you put on the land and how you leave the land behind you?
Well, of course, present day EU regulations are such that we have to be very careful what you put out on the land and what time of the year you put it out and all this sort of thing. And of course, if you don't adhere to those rules, you can be penalised.
Yeah.
So we just have to be careful now to.
Well, again, I would think it'd be instinctual to, because it's not like you're just passing through. You'll want this land to be good for next year and the year after.
Well, this is it.
You
want to try and pass it on.
Yes,
as good as you got it, and maybe even a bit better.
Yeah, maybe a few more flowers, a few more spuds, whatever can do it. Well, I got to say, well done. It's always been, as I said, something that I've noticed that I'd see you out, and I reckon it was from your own kind of initiative rather than somebody who's giving you a big wad of cash to do it. So that's kind of lovely to see. And I hear there was with the Jimmy Barker Perpetual Trophy, €10,000 cash as well, wasn't there?
Well, I haven't.
We'll see now. I know Marie mentioned something about money. Maybe she's.
I haven't actually seen. I haven't actually seen that yet. But
I'll chase it.
It would.
There'll be some cost, the award and the ceremony. And all that. So you might only have a fiver left. But
well, I'll be interested to see who. I'm interested to see whose name is already on the trophy. Not to mention who might follow.
I must check it out actually, because that's kind of. And it is lovely that it's there because it inspires people like to follow in your footsteps and Jimmy's footsteps, just to think, well, this is the area that I live in, I might as well just
well, I must say a man who lives here locally, Frank Coyne, has been involved with the tidy towns too for a long number of years, and he tells me now that the stretch from the cemetery, Redford Cemetery, to the top of Winegates is now in what's classed a green. A pure mile.
Oh right, the pure mile.
The pure mile. So Frank and his team invariably on a Wednesday endeavour to try to keep this area tidy. By way of picking up papers.
It makes a huge difference. There's a mental effect when you walk into even a room and it's upside down. It just has a whole different effect. If you drive into a town and it's a bit upside down, you kind of assume that it's not exactly a happy place, or
well, your first impressions are probably the ones that'll stick.
So because we've got so many people passing through now, and it's become such a wonderful time for Greystones that probably never more than ever we should just make sure the house is tidy for our visitors, because there's a lot of
Yeah,
them
well,
coming
that
through.
would be the ambition anyway.
Well, people like yourself are helping to get us into that frame of
Well,
mind.
I don't know about that, but
Well,
it's
yeah.
good to see it anyway.
Oh yeah, well, as I said, I think it's great that there are so many people. I know myself personally, who, like Marie and all that, who are heavily involved, and I'd be fine if we got snipers in for a month. Just people who drop litter. If they were just pellets, just shot.
Oh,
with a
yeah,
pellet,
yeah.
that'd be handy. Just a little.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah. Well, I know there is meant to be a penalty for people
yeah, it's hard
dropping
to-
litter, but we
Right.
seldom see it enforced.
I think I should be allowed to have a gun, just a pellet
Yeah.
gun. I'd be happy with a pellet gun. I wouldn't have to
Well,
kill anyone. Just leave a mark. Would be good.
Well, yeah.